How is everyone doing today? Today we're going to be going homework number 2 for Biology 2401, Section 1201 for AMP1. Homework 2, Chapter 4, Section 5, Learning Outcome 7, going over cellular metabolism, and specifically in Learning Outcome 7, describing the metabolic pathways of carbohydrates. Alright, so we're going to be going over glycolysis. This is the first part, which is the breakdown of a glucose molecule right here, which is a 6-carbon molecule, and that's broken down into 2 pyruvic acid molecules. Pyruvic acid is also known as pyruvate, which is down here. Pyruvate is a 3-carbon molecule. You also start with 2 ATPs in glycolysis, and at the end of glycolysis you'll end up with 4 ATPs. The way that works is that 2 more ATP molecules are synthesized using the energy giving off by the chemical reactions. So you start with 2, you get 2, and you have a net, which is 4 in total, but you have a net gain of 2, and then you have 2 NADH or 2 NAD molecules. But because of the hydrogen molecule that's in glucose, that comes all the way over here, and now you have 2 NADH molecules. So moving on to the Krebs cycle following glycolysis, which comes second, it's going to be taking the pyruvic acid, the 2 pyruvic acid molecules that was formed in glycolysis, and it's going to be introduced to an acid called oxaloacetic acid, which forms a 6-carbon molecule called citric acid. Citric acid cycle is another name used for the Krebs cycle quite often. So during this cycle, carbon dioxide and hydrogen molecules are released, forming NAD and NADH, and ATP and FAD and FADH2. So the way that ATP is formed, which is the most important part, is because of how much energy is being used to form the NADH and the FADH2 due to the release of the 2 hydrogen atoms each time. It'll form 1 ATP in one cycle and then another ATP in a second cycle. The Krebs cycle is also an example of anaerobic metabolism. So it's forming very little ATP, and if anything, producing more of those high energy electron things that will be used in the next system. The NADH, which it forms 3 in the first cycle and 6 in the second cycle, and it'll form 1 FADH in the first cycle and 2 in the second. And it'll be a little bit more helpful when we go into the electron transport chain, which incorporates all of that. So we're moving on to the electron transport chain, which is an array of molecules, but it's actually mostly going to be proteins that are built in here into the inner layer, or the inner membrane of the mitochondrion. So NADH will actually give up its high energy electrons, or it comes in right here, gives us the electrons, and will actually give up its hydrogen molecule, which will pop out here on this end. And that's going to be the first step of the electron transport chain. And then from there, the electrons will move through here, and as it moves, it'll be FADH that comes in. It also loses its hydrogen ion, and so forth, popping out on this side. So this continues, and as this continues, this is actually going to be what forms the most ATP in the body, and how your mitochondria make the most energy, with a yield of 36 ATP at the end. 36 is the general number. But it can vary between 32 and 38 ATP as well.